What's up, y'all? It is Pigeon Pirate, and I am back again. Where today I'm going to be wrapping up my MSI previews, where I'm going to be talking about the four major regions and the teams representing them, being Cloud9, Mad Lions, Damwon Kia, and Royal Never Give Up. And the reason I've decided to clump these four together and cover them all in one video is for two major reasons. One, I think there's already a lot of content covering these four teams, and I'm really proud of the content that I was able to produce with a lot of the smaller regions and giving them a lot of analysis and context around where they're at and how they'll contribute to the MSI scene that I feel like some of the more major regions and content is missing. However, I do feel like the more mainstream content that's out there has done a very good job covering these four major regions. And some of the best ones that I've seen is Euphoria, The Dive, Tom Matheson, and Travis Gafford. So I do want to give credit where credit is due, especially shouting out Bwippo's analysis in Euphoria. I think some of the content that he's talking about and the context that he's providing, talking about the jungle and mid changeups and how that's going to affect the teams, I think is something really incredible and really worth watching. So I strongly recommend you watch not just that, but any one content around these regions because all of it is very good. So I just want to put my takes on it, bring some sports analysis and comparisons to it, dive a little bit heavier into the stats, and see if that's how I can contribute to this conversation around these four regions. But secondly, is I just more or less ran out of time. Making these videos has been a really fun thing, a lot more work and a lot more commitment than I had realized and anticipated going into it. And it's really made me realize that if I want to be a good contributor to the scene and place my stamp on it, that I want my content to be as strong in the analysis as possible. And that takes a lot of work. And so it's something that I'm excited to continue into the future. But I'll talk more about that and what the future of this channel holds at the very end of the video. So if you're interested in that, stick it out till the end, and I'll talk a little bit more about what's to come for this channel and what that workload means. But nonetheless, let's just go ahead and jump right into the analysis of these four major regions. So, once again, we're going to be covering from North America, the LCS, Cloud9. We're going to be talking about from Europe's LEC, Mad Lions. We're going to be talking about Korea's LCK's, Damwon Kia. And we're going to be talking about China's LPL's, Royal Never Give Up. So, let's start with my home region, Cloud9. So, Cloud9, their top laner is Fudge, jungler is Blabber, mid laner is Perkz, their bottom laner is Sven, and their support is Vulcan, and they're coached by Coach Rainover. So, a little bit about how they got here to MSI is they start off their season in what's called the Lock-in Tournament, which is a new tournament that the LCS is starting, which is essentially a way to kick off the spring split in a way that's not going to affect the standings, but a way that can bring in more competition and just a little bit of fun to start it off. So they were able to make it to the finals where they ended up losing to Team Liquid. And Team Liquid was really their rival throughout the entirety of the split. But nevertheless, Cloud9 after the lock-in tournament was able to have a fairly dominant spring split going 13 and 5, and their first place hold over the LCS was never really in doubt. They struggled a little bit. Come week 5, they didn't have the greatest week in the world, but regardless, it never felt like they were ever in danger of losing their number one spot. And that's really because Blabber, their jungler, had an MVP split where he was pretty much hands down the best player in the league the entirety of it. And both Blabber, Perkz, and Sven were able to get the first team All Pro. Vulcan got onto the second team All Pro as well. So a lot of their players really stepped up and had a great season. And then come the spring split playoffs, also known as the mid-season showdown, they were able to sweep 100 Thieves in the first round 3-0. Then they beat Team Liquid 3-1 in the winners finals and ultimately faced Team Liquid again in the grand finals where they won it 3-2. So, who do I want to highlight when it comes to Cloud9 as to what to look for at MSI? Well, it's hard to narrow it down because they have a lot of areas of strength and not a lot of areas of weakness. As I said going in to MSI in some of my previous videos, is I actually think this is the most complete team that North America has ever sent to a Worlds tournament. And that's because they have a lot of areas of strength, lot of capabilities on how to play the game. They're not just hunkered down by one specific style, and they don't have any glaring weaknesses. Now, some people might point to Fudge as being a weakness, but I don't necessarily think he's a weakness as opposed to just a lack of a really strong suit. So, the first thing, though, that I want to highlight when it comes to these guys as a strength is obviously their newest addition, their mid laner Perkz, who's came over from G2 and Europe and has been lighting up the scene in North America. He is still one of the best mid laners in the entire world. He didn't have the most impressive split uh, of all time coming into North America, but you could see him throughout the split getting more and more comfortable with a new team, with a new region, and start carrying harder and harder. He's got the best gold difference at 10 for all mid laners in the league, the most gold earned per minute. He's second best in kill participation, third best in damage per minute, and third best in KDA with the most ward kills. He's a very good at being able to both set wards and kill off wards, so he knows how to play the game and play it at a really high level. But in the playoffs, he stepped up his game to a much, much higher level. In the playoffs, he had the best damage per minute by a long shot. He had the most kill shares for mid laners. He had the highest damage percentage, and his ward stats increased as well. So in all of the stats come the playoffs, he got better and better. And I think that's a trend that's going to continue at MSI. I still don't think he's hit his full form. And a big comparison that I want to make in this is similar to how in the sports world, particularly the NBA, a lot of the greatest players in the world kind of take the regular season as a way to essentially practice, get better, learn the system, learn their teammates, but then really pick it up come playoffs. LeBron James is a great example of this. He's the type of player who in the regular season is taking every game seriously and trying, but has an extra level that he knows he can go to and reach come the playoffs and come these clutch moments because he's so confident in his skill and ability to carry that when it matters the most, that's when he is going to play his best. And I think Perkz is one of those players in esports that can do the exact same thing. I think he's such an experienced player that in the regular season, even though he's capable of carrying every single game, it's hard to put absolute 100% focus into every single game. And so once he actually hits the playoffs when the games matter the most, you really see him unlock an extra aspect of his skill and his game and bring out a whole new side of both him and his team because of that. And so I think that trend is going to continue and he's going to unlock an even higher level come this MSI. And we've seen that in the past. Every team that he's ever been on has always been called the Perkz playoff buff. And I think this MSI is going to continue that trend. But even though Perkz is a great player, he wasn't the MVP of the league because that goes to Blabber. And Blabber has been pretty much unanimously known as the best player in North America for really the past 2 seasons. I mean, this guy has a 56% first blood rate, highest in the league. He's got the most damage by far for the junglers in the league. It's not even close. And same with the damage percentage that he has for his team. It's the highest among junglers in the entire league. So this guy is able to just hard carry games. If you watch him throughout the entire spring split, he is building these monumental leads over junglers. And even when they come in with these crazy game plans on how they're going to put Blabber behind and really beat him or try to earn some kind of advantage in the jungle, all of it goes out the window after level 4 because this guy is so smart at the way he bats. He's so smart at knowing where the other jungler is, and he's great at just being able to either power farm or make super smart ganks for either Fudge or Perkz that end up just snowballing his team and his players out of control. And this guy is really the ignition to everything Cloud9 does. So once Blabber decides it's time to go, and C9 is able to capitalize on these incredible plays that he's making throughout the entire game. So not just can he carry, he can also be the guy that starts all these fights and initiates these team fights for his team to ultimately end up following up on. And that's a perfect transition to where and how their bottom lane contributes to all of this. Because one of the most frustrating things to watch as a Dignitas fan and a person who, even though is an NA fan, is typically rooting against Cloud9 in the actual regular season is the fact that this bottom lane never loses. It doesn't matter who they're playing against, what champions that they do not lose lane. And no matter what happens, somehow at 15, 20 minutes into the game, Sven has an incredible CS lead over whoever he's playing. And it is frustrating to watch. And I think it's something that he will be able to do continuously against some of the best bottom lanes in the entire world because they're not just playing for kills and dominance in lane. They play to just stay even in lane and ultimately end up winning it because they're so mechanically gifted and they don't mess up at all. And the stats reflect that as well. They've got the best goal difference at 10, the best CS difference at 10 by far, and for Sven, it's at 11.7 CS per difference at 10, when the next person in the league is only at 3. So he's almost quadrupling what these other AD carries are able to do. And the playoff buff that Perkz brings extends to Sven as well. The CS difference at 10 got even better, and he got the best KDA in the playoffs for North America. So this bottom lane doesn't lose, and they will always show up big in team fights. Sven, or Perkz, he doesn't lose, and he's going to show up even harder in playoffs. And Blabber will just straight up win almost every jungle matchup that he's ever against, and just pick fights which the Sven, Perkz, and the rest of the team can follow up on, and just dominate games and crack them open. So I have a lot of faith that this Cloud9 team is going to make a splash at MSI. But the biggest questions that surround them really all rest on that top laner Fudge. And I think it's justified to some degree. Fudge had a really rough lock-in tournament, but he was getting solo killed all the time, but he really improved throughout the entire split to where in the playoffs they were actually playing games through Fudge and letting him hard carry them through carry top laners. But he's also shown a willingness and strong ability to play tanks as well without losing lane and a lot of times even winning lanes that he should have been losing. So I don't think that it's necessarily a weakness having Fudge in top laner. I just wouldn't say it's one of the biggest strengths in the world. And he's capable of playing any role that Cloud9 gives him or needs of him within a certain game or a certain match. So I have a lot of faith that I think Cloud9 is going to be a very complete team and strong team in MSI, but they are going against the best competition in the world. So we'll see how it plays out. So, next up, let's go ahead and move on to the LEC's Mad Lions. So, in the top lane for Mad, you have Armit. Jungle, you have Eloya. I apologize. Mid laner is Humanoid. The bottom laner is Karzi, and their support is Kaiser, and they're coached by Coach Mac. So, Mad Lions, how did they make it to MSI? Well, they had a decent split. They went 10 and 8, which was good enough to get them the third seed. Armat was tied for the most player of the games throughout the split. He was able to win 5 of them. El Yoya, he was able to get the outstanding rookie of the split. Both or all three of them, El Yoya, Humanoid, and Kaiser, they all got onto the third All Pro team. So they had a pretty decent summer or spring split. Nothing crazy dominant, but good. So once they actually got into the playoffs, they were able to beat Rogue 3-1, then beat G2, who most people would have predicted to be the best team, 3-1 in the winners finals, and then ultimately beat Rogue again 3-2 in the grand finals, pulling off a reverse sweep. So, what should we highlight here with Mad Lions? Well, their biggest strength is their team fighting ability. This is not a team that's going to dominate you in lane by any means. In fact, most times they're pretty average, if not weak, in the laning phase, but they are a team that knows how to take advantage of the small windows of opportunity that they have. Whippo does a great job of analyzing this on Euphoria, where he says, not every team is perfect. Every team is going to give you windows to expose them and make a play. And Mad Lions is that team that is going to take every single window that they can and make the smart, right, aggressive play in that moment to try to win them the game. And nothing highlights this better than in the finals of game number 5 when they're down by a significant amount in a team fight around Baron, but somehow are able to pull off a miracle fight that ultimately ends up winning them the game and winning them the LEC championship. So they know what they're doing, and the stats really prove that, especially come the playoffs, they were able to step up. And so you saw in the playoffs that they had the best team KDA, the best mid to late rating by far. Like the next, they had a 27.7 mid to late rating when the next closest was only a 2.9. So they know how to take advantages of these windows and team fight when they're when they see them. And people like Humanoid, Karzi, and Armit are all capable of carrying and popping off in this late game, just depending on what champions they get and who's in the position to carry. So all three of them have the potential to be the carry when they need them most. However, I do think the two players you really should be watching in this are their jungler, Aloy El Yoya. I don't know why this is so hard for me to pronounce. And their support, Kaiser. I think these two guys are really the engine that drive their carries to carry. So El Yoya specifically in the playoffs, he or in the regular season, he had the second best regular or second best KDA in the regular season for junglers, which turned into the best KDA in the playoffs. He had the best gold and experience difference at 10 for the jungle, and he's one of the top 3 warders in the league, meaning that not only is he able to get really good advantages for himself in the jungle, but he's setting up the map well too, so that Mad Lions can contest for these objectives that they hold so highly and prize so highly. Kaiser, he's also got the best KDA for supports. He's a great warder, one of the top 3 for supports, and it's got the second highest kill participation in the league, and that's for both playoffs and the regular season. So essentially, what that means for these two teams is those two players are really setting up the map and setting up essentially the plate for the rest of their team to eat off of. They are usually when Mad Lions are playing, they're not winning lanes, and in fact, a lot of times they're getting solo killed or 2v2'd outplayed in their solo lane and laning phase. But because of their jungler and support being able to play smart and set up the map and really set up for these objectives, when the other teams are making a misplay or leaving that window open for Mad Lions to fight over an objective or outplay a team in macro sense, Mad Lions are then taking full advantage of it. And it wouldn't be without these two players setting that all up for them and relaying the information and being really great team fighters at engaging and setting the table so that whoever the carry within that specific game is can carry to the best of their ability. And they just do a really great job at making sure that their carries can do it, whether it's peeling for them or setting them up. And that's why somebody like Carzy had the best damage per minute in the playoffs, is really off of the backs of great team fights set up by their jungler and support. So, what are the biggest questions for Mad Lions going here into MSI? Well, I think there's two of them. One, will their laning cost them? Like I said prior, their lane control is average at best, and they have a habit of dying in their solo lanes or 2v2s. So I do think this is an area where teams can try to take big advantages of. But if Mad Lions are able to team fight the way that they did, they might be able to overcome it and still compete because the LEC is a really strong region. So they're going against some of the best laners in the entire world. So if they can team fight better than the teams in the LEC, that they can team fight likely with the best in the world as well. The other question that I have is how is the weight of expectation going to affect the Mad Lions? And I really don't think this is an area that people are talking about enough because when you're an underdog, it's really easy to go in and play really well. You look at teams like the Denver Nuggets in last year's playoff bubbles. They came in with a lot of expectations and played terribly. And it wasn't until they were down 3-1 to both the Utah Jazz or the Clippers that they said, hey, we've got nothing to lose anymore. Let's just go out there and have fun, and they started playing the best basketball that they have the entire year. And I think Mad Lions did the exact same thing in the playoffs. They came in as underdogs without high expectations, and they just played great and played to have fun. In one of the interviews that I saw, Carzy even said that he's not worried about losing. He just wants to learn as much as he can and have fun. And I think that's a great mentality to come into MSI having. However, it's a lot easier to say that before the tournament starts than to continue to feel it and believe it when it's happening. Because once you're actually in the fire of things, they're representing EU, which has a long history of international success, and they're carrying the weight of that entire region's fans on their shoulders. So right now they could say they're not worried about losing and they just want to have fun and learn. But when you've got hundreds of thousands of people calling for your head on Twitter, you're not going to be having as much fun. And I'm really interested to see whether or not they're able to overcome the expectations that they have on their shoulders being the EU representatives or whether or not that crushes them. Because I think you can ask teams like TSM or Team Liquid, that international pressure can be absolutely crushing. So I'll be interested to see how Mad Lions uh, does under that pressure. But that goes ahead and brings me to the representatives from Korea, LCK's Damwon Kia. So these are the returning world champs. This is the best team in the world, and they deservingly are the favorites of the tournament. You've probably heard it from every single news source that's out there. These guys are the heavy favorites to win it, and deservedly so. They're bringing back 4 out of the 5 players that won Worlds, and it hasn't seemed like they've taken a major step back despite losing their top laner, Nuguri. But regardless, their new top laner is Khan. Jungler is Canyon. Mid is Showmaker. Bot is Ghost. Support is Barrel. And they are coached by the legendary coach Koma. So, Damwon Kia, how did they get here? Well, they dominated the regular season. They went 16-2, and Canyon was overwhelmingly the MVP. Most people would consider him to be the best player in the entire world. Both or all three, Khan, Canyon, and Showmaker made the first team All Pro. Barrel got second team, and Ghost got third team. So everybody is represented in their all pro team, and they went on to dominate the spring playoffs as well. They swept Hanwha Life 3-0 in the semis, swept Genji 3-0 in the finals. So this team, throughout the entirety of the split, looked like the best team in Korea and probably the best team in the entire world. They did this because they've got the best player in the entire world, Canyon. You look at what every single person is saying about him, especially the players in the league, like Bwippo in his analysis in Euphoria, or Blabber in his conversations about who he looks up to in the league. They're all referencing how Canyon is able to make just mind-blowingly good plays, able to build insane leads, and somehow is able to just make the other jungler a traveling ward, just completely useless, and relaying exactly where he is at all times to his team. So if you look at his stats specifically, he's got the best gold difference at 10 for junglers in the LCK, the best experience difference at 10, the best damage per minute, and the highest gold earned per minute. This guy just dominates. And if you look at the way their team plays too, their jungle control percentage as a team is the best one in the league by far. And it's something that gets even better in the playoffs. So they really play through Canyon. And specifically, Showmaker does a great job at not just playing around Canyon and helping Canyon make successful plays, but then being a direct benefit of it and being able to hard carry games as they move on and move forward. These two, as a mid and jungle duo, have the best synergy in the entire world. Showmaker already is one of the best players in the entire world alongside Canyon. Maybe not the best mid in the world, but up there. But he's able to play and not only benefit from, but empower his jungler at probably the greatest success out of any mid laner in the entire world. So between the two of them, they are really able to dominate the jungle and then hard carry games once they're able to get these leads from it. And so that's really ultimately how Damwon ends up getting their wins is they're just able to control everything. Whether they're winning their lanes or going even in them, they're just able to suffocate the other team, not give them 1 inch on what they're able to do, use Canyon's ability to control objectives and get leads for himself at such a high rate so that it feels like every single objective is just not even close to being contested by the other team. And if they do try to contest it, guess what? Damwon has already set it up at such a great successful rate that if you try to fight them, you're just going to lose. And then they're going to snowball that even further. So they just suffocate the life out of their teams and play that slow, controlling style of League of Legends better than any team in the entire world. And so they are going into the they're going into it as the heavy favorite, and it's because of their ability to control, their ability to fight late game. They've got the best mid to late rating in the LCK, as well as the best team KDA and the best gold stats. So they're just able to control everything and push those leads into insurmountable leads. So, with all that being said, do they have any weaknesses? Well, yeah, there are two big questions that I have for them going into this tournament. The first one is what happens if we take Khan off of Sion? And I know it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek question. He plays more than just Sion, even though he played a lot of games of Sion throughout the season. Is he able to actually hard carry? Well, the guy is still a great top laner. He has a long history of being one of the best tops in the world, and I think he's capable of playing more than just tanks at this point in his career. It's just they don't need him to. Showmaker and Canyon are able to hard carry basically every game, so they don't need him to be the hard carry. So even if I think a team tries to take away his comfort picks, he's going to find something else and can just lean on Canyon and Showmaker to carry. And the other big question is, can Ghost in the bottom lane carry? And again, I think the answer to that is yes. Ghost has shown that he's capable of carrying. He's a very strong uh, AD carry as well, and has single-handedly carried games for them. But again, he doesn't need to. Canyon and Showmaker are two of the best players in the world, and they really do the heavy lifting. So I think teams can try their best to neutralize Kenyon and Showmaker, but even if they tried and forced the game to be carried by either Khan or Ghost, I think both of them are capable and willing to step into that role and can fill it at a pretty high level. So, with all that being said, last team we want to highlight here is Royal Never Give Up. Royal Never Give Up from China. They've got their top laner of Xiaohu, their jungler Wei, mid laner Cryan, bottom laner is Gala, their support is Ming, and they are coached by Coach Tabe. So, Royal Never Give Up. How did they make it to MSI? Well, they were able to get the number one seed in their region, going 14 and 2 in the regular season. It was pretty good, not incredibly dominant, despite being the number one seed, but they were a very strong, formidable team throughout the entire season. And that's why their jungler Wei tied for the most man of the match awards at 10 of them. Xiaohu, Wei, and Ming all got first team All Pro, and Gala was able to get second team All Pro. And so once they were able to enter the playoffs as the number one seed, they actually kind of made a mess of in the playoffs and turned it a little bit into a clown fiesta. They went against former world champions Fun Plus Phoenix in the semis, where they got swept by them, going 0-3, forcing them into the losers brackets where they scraped by Top Esports at 3 and 2, then scraped by Edward Gaming going 3 and 2 as well, where they finally got a rematch against Fun Plus Phoenix in the grand finals, winning it 3 to 1. Gala was able to win that finals MVP. So, it didn't come without a lot of hard work and a lot of crazy games that they were able to really pull off wins when maybe they shouldn't have. But they're ultimately able to get that victory in the playoffs and to become the MSI representative, and well deservingly so. I think both their performance and their scrappiness in the playoffs, as well as their strength in the regular season, shows that these are a very deserving team to be representative of the LPL at MSI. So, what do I want to highlight with RNG? Well, first and foremost, they, just like Damwon Kia, play a really controlled style of League of Legends, which is really interesting considering the history of the LPL. LPL is really known as the league that likes to play fast, crazy, take these team fights, and play aggressive League of Legends. And they're the ones that forced uh, Korea to really try to adopt a faster style of play because they proved that if you play aggressive and hard enough, you can force other teams to break under that pressure. However, RNG, they are kind of taking that Korean style of a slower, more controlled pace and bringing it to the LPL and playing it at a really high pace. They've got the best mid to late rating in the entire league. They have a really low combined killed per minutes for each team, meaning the games that they're playing are not getting a ton of kills in. And they've got the third longest games on average in the LPL. So they like to slow the game down, and they're really good at being able to neutralize other teams' best attributes. So a team like Damwon, where they have a great mid and jungle synergy, a team like RNG, what they're going to do is they are going to put all their resources into slowing down that jungle and that mid laner as much as possible and say, if this is where you want to play, this is not where we're going to play. We're going to force you to play around something else and force you into an uncomfortable position, and then we'll just see who can outplay each other with the better laners and the better macro play at the end of the day. And they've been able to do that at a really high clip. And I think a huge part of that is because of their players. And the one that I want to really highlight here is Xiao Hu. So he used to be the mid laner for RNG and was once considered one of the best mid laners in the world and the best mid laner in China. Um, However, because of the circumstance, he decided to switch from mid laner to top, and he has proven to be a very, very strong top laner. He did bring in some wild picks like the Syndra up top, but he's really able to find both carries and strong tanks that he can play at a tremendously high level. So picks like Gnar is his number one go-to that he can strong carry on and show up as a complete menace in team fights with. But he's also been known to play top laners like Lucian and Jace when he wants to hard carry and win a lane strong. And he's fourth in KDA for top laners, second in kill participation, has the best earned gold per minute among top laners, and the best CS per minute as well. So this is a guy who, despite making the transition to top lane, has proven that not only is he a great top laner, but he's an even better League of Legends player. He knows how to get advantages, where to be on the map, and how to take advantages and transition them into late game team fight success. So you never see him making stupid mistakes or taking bad fights. He's always able to do the smart and the right play and then show up big in his team fights. And the team rewards him with that. They give him a lot of resources with all of his CS numbers and gold earn numbers, they're at the highest for his team. So not only is he getting them himself in lane, but the team is letting him carry them later in the game and pumping resources into him so that he can hard carry as well. And once he's at that really strong level, RNG, they're able to just out macro you because they're a very smart team that knows how to play the game and knows how to know understands what the other teams are trying to do to them and then counter them in the way that makes the most sense. So RNG is a very smart team and a team with some really strong players on it that just know how to play League of Legends at the highest level. So biggest question for me for RNG moving into MSI is how's their mid laner Cryan going to perform at the world stage? Because all things considered, Cryan is a fairly average mid laner in the LPL. Now, don't get me wrong, the LPL is such a strong region that average for them is probably going to be in the top half and one of the best in some of these other regions. So I don't think he's necessarily this weak point on the team, but I don't think he's going to be somebody that can hard carry games. And when he's going against people like Showmaker or Perkz here on this world stage, I'm interested to see whether or not he's going to just be completely outclassed by these guys. So that is a question that I have on them, but like I said, it's not like he's a slump of a mid laner. He's a really strong mid laner that just happens to be in an even stronger region. So, where does all that bring us? I know I've been talking here for a long time, but that brings us to the point where I am going to make my pigeon picks or my official predictions for what's going to happen at MSI. So, after everything that I've said, all the research that I put in, you can then look at this little area of this clip and point to me and say, he's either a genius or a complete idiot that knows nothing because look how bad his picks are. So here we go. Group A, we have RNG, Unicorns of Love, and Pentanet.gg. And for this one, I really think RNG is just going to absolutely stomp the other two. So I've got RNG going 6-0 in this group, which really leaves Unicorns of Love and Pentanet.gg fighting for that second and last spot. Uh, I think it's going to play out as Unicorns going 2-4 and Pentanet going 1-5. Pentanet being able to steal one game off of Unicorns of Love. I was back and forth whether or not I wanted to give that one game to Pentanet.gg, but the 80 carry for them is such a strong team fighter, and seeing both the weakness of Logic with Unicorns of Love, not that he's necessarily a huge weakness, but just not his dominance within the region, as well as just not being overly impressed with Unicorns of Love macro play or just their ability to really snowball hard makes me think that Pentanet.gg will be able to push a game late enough to where they can show up big in a team fight and do what they do best, which is allow Biopanther to farm up, engage in a great team fight, and then have their AD carry just take over a team fight and win it for them. So I do think Pentanet steals one game off of them, but ultimately I think Unicorns of Love advance and make it into the Rumble stage. So, Group B, we've got PSG Talon, Mad Lions, Pain Gaming, and Istanbul Wildcats. So, this one, I've got PSG and Mad Lions both advancing. Probably not a shock to anyone. Both of them going 5-1. But I've got Pain Gaming being a real dark horse and surprise team here, going 3-3, leaving the Istanbul Wildcats to go 0-6. So I think PSG will lose one game to Mad Lion because I think Mad Lions will be able to take advantage of a window that PSG leaves open for them and just out team fight them and outclass them in a large team fight. I think Mad Lions, though, are going to lose one game to Pain Gaming. And I think this because, as I explained in my uh, preview for Pain Gaming, they are an incredibly good and incredibly experienced team when it comes to the world stage. Every one of their players has been there before and knows what it takes to win. When I talk about them, I think of them a lot as an old like sports team full of veterans that are just waiting to get into the playoffs before they turn that key and really turn it up and take it up a notch. They're a team of Brazilian all-stars brought together under one season, trying to figure it out and have started to really snowball in the later half of the regular season and then come playoffs. And I think they're going to continue that snowball here at MSI, and I think they're going to be able to take advantages of some of the stupid mistakes that Mad Lions make, and they'll ultimately be able to just get a big enough lead to where once they have it, they can out team fight it when it comes to the objectives and sneak a victory off of it. And I think they're going to fairly easily dominate the Istanbul Wildcats. Now, I was back and forth whether or not I want to give Istanbul one win in this over Brazil, but ultimately decided that I think one, the overall falling off of the Turkish region, it just doesn't feel like their league is as good this season as it has been in seasons past. And I think Brazil historically has always been one of the better regions that have always challenged Turkey for that number one seed. So both having a weaker Turkish region, a Brazilian team full of veterans, and a winner of the Turkish region being the Istanbul Wildcats, feeling like they play really recklessly and like they just rely too heavily on outplaying their opponents is not going to work on a team as experienced as Pain Gaming. So I see them not winning a game in this, having Pain be an underdog going 3-3, but ultimately PSG Talon and Mad Lions making it out, both going 5-1. Finally, Group C, we got Damwon, C9, Infinity Esports, and Detonation Focus Me. So I've got Damwon and C9 both going 5-1. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, saying NA is going to win this first game, sneak a victory off of Damwon Gaming, and then probably lose to him through the rest of the tournament. But I do see, I think they can do it. If anyone's going to challenge Damwon, I think Cloud9 has the strengths in the rosters to do so. And so I think they'll get one game on him. So I see both of them winning 5-1. Infinity Esports, they like Pain Gaming are another team that I wish I could pick to do better because White Lotus, their AD carry, is such a tremendously good carry and strong player. Getting to watch him in the Latin American scene is he just absolutely dominates that region harder than Blabber can dominate the North American region. And so I do think White Lotus can carry and will carry against a region like Japan and their detonation focus me. But I don't think it's good enough to beat the top teams like Cloud9 or Damwon. And so that leaves Detonation Focus Me going 0-6. I think they're probably the weakest team here at Worlds, and it's because they just play like maniacs. They will take any team fight and just force one as soon as they can. Now they've got a great mid laner in Arya that I think can carry games, and I'm actually very interested to see the Arya versus White Lotus matchup on who can carry their team harder. But at the end of the day, detonation focused Mies, their macro and their decision making come later in games. I don't think is very strong, and I think it's going to ultimately lead them to losing games and throwing them away, even if they have advantages through the laning phase. So that brings us to the Rumble stage. Out of the 6 teams going, I think the 4 teams coming out are Damwon, RNG, C9, and PSG Talon. Now, the big upset there, PSG Talon beating out the Mad Lions. And quite frankly, I just think they are the better team, especially when it comes to macro play. I just see Mad Lions, they're a team that like to take advantages of the windows that other teams leave open for them. And if there's any team that will not leave open a window for them, it's PSG Talon. So I just have faith that their macro play will beat out Mad Lions, and I don't have faith that Mad Lions will be able to get any type of lead through the laning phase on them to start snowballing a victory. And other than that, I don't think any of the individual players on Mad Lions out beat any of the individual players from Damwon, RNG, or C9. So I just don't think they're going to be making it out, and I really see PSG making it. So with that being said, that would set up a semifinals of Damwon versus PSG. 2 teams that play very similar styles, but Damwon has the significantly better players and team. So I see them sweeping it 3-0. Cloud9 versus RNG. I've got Cloud9 winning it. I think Perkz and Blabber are going to be able to take advantage of the evolving meta of mid and jungle synergy being incredibly important and incredibly strong carry roles in this upcoming meta for MSI that Whipple was able to analyze really well. So I see those two being able to take advantage of the potential meta a lot better and being a much more adaptable team than RNG is. So I see them squeaking out a really close series in 3-2, leaving a Damwon versus Cloud9 finals where Damwon's going to sweep them. They're going to go 3-0, and it's going to be another one of those systems where, hey, we're proud of our North American team for making it, but my God, did they not look good in the finals. I just think Damwon and Cloud9, they match up incredibly similar in their strengths, but Damwon is just going to be better than them. So even though I can see them having some close games, I just see all of the strengths for Damwon being the same as the strengths for Cloud9, just even stronger for Damwon. So I don't see where Cloud9 would be able to get a massive advantage. It would take a miracle by Blabber or Perkz to just completely outplay Canyon or Showmaker, but those are 2 of the best players in the world. And even though Blabber and Perkz are up there as well, they're not quite at their level. So I got Damwon winning it 3-0 over Cloud9. And those are my predictions. So lock them in, and we'll see how I actually do. But with that being said, I want to end this video with 2 things. One, I just wanted to give you all an update as to how I plan on making videos moving forward. Um, I've realized, so I work a full-time job, and doing these videos are essentially another full-time job on top of it. I put in between 4 to 5, sometimes even 6 hours in every single video that I make, doing research, watching VODs, writing out all the notes. I mean, this one I can show you. I've got 5.5 pages worth of notes that I went through trying to do this. So I put a lot of effort in it because I want my analysis to be smart and not just repeating narratives. I want it to actually hold value. And so I put a lot of work into these videos and what I do, and I want to continue doing that. But with that being said, I also realize that doing that much work every single night, as well as working my full time job, is not something that I'm able to do consistently. And so I want to continue busting out the videos and have really high quality, but it's not something that I can expect to be doing every single night. So with that being said, I don't want to limit myself with saying I'm going to for sure be doing X amount of videos per week or these amount every single day on like these specific days, but I can tell you that I am going to keep producing content and I am going to keep putting in a lot of work and analysis into them. And I'm really looking forward to doing analysis videos of how games turn out, what teams are doing, and making more predictions and highlighting future events and games as well. So you can definitely expect that from me in the future. And the second thing that I want to talk about was just a huge thank you to every single person that watched any one of my videos. Whether you commented really positive things, given me feedback in maybe not the most constructive way, but in ways that I can understand and try to do better at, whether you liked it, watched it, did anything whatsoever, it has been absolutely incredible to see this feedback, and it's really motivated me to want to continue in this field and continue to make progress and put out even better and better content. So, with that being said, thank you all so much. And this isn't the end for me. This is just me getting going. But thank you all so much for watching, and I really appreciate it. And have fun watching MSI.